Hey guys, Junior with Keystone RV Center off I-81, Greencastle, Pennsylvania. So we've been asked to do this video a bunch of times and we're finally going to get into it, and we tried to figure out how to do this video, and the only way it made sense was to do a series. So this is going to be the introduction of dry camping. Keep in mind, we've got a lot to cover, so there's going to be ongoing videos on this. So if you're interested in this topic, make sure you are subscribed to our channel and you've clicked the bell icon. That way you get the updates as we release new videos for this. Okay, so the first thing to talk about dry camping is there's a bunch of different types of dry camping. I thought of analogies to work with this for people who's never been dry camping. The easiest way to explain it is there's as many types of dry camping as there is types of off-roading. You can get into rock crawling, mud bogging, trail riding, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so we're going to break down to a few different groups of dry camping, and there are more. So boondocking to us is fully unhooked. This is especially when you get up or out west, Moab area and things like that, where you are pulled off the side of the road, down a trail, and there is nothing around you except for the stuff that you bought, and you are fully unhooked, no generators, no nothing, you're running off batteries. And then there's campground dry camping, where it's like a semi hookup. Some of these are going to be, the power's only turned on certain times of the day. Maybe there's full power but there's no water. Stuff like that. So we're going to get into talking about that later on. And then we're going to talk about, and we see that a lot of times at some NASCAR events and stuff like that, where there is power hookups, but only certain generators are going to throw power to certain areas during certain times. And then we're going to get into where you're boondocking, but you're bringing a bunch of gear with to simulate power, whether it's generators and things like that. So here's my biggest tip for you. If you're like, you know what, this dry camping thing sounds cool, I'm going to try it. Go to a campground and try it. And it's going to sound completely weird. I'm talking about a full hookup campground where you've got water, electric, everything. Okay. This is going to allow you to fail with a safety net. So if you run out of power because you killed your batteries in like 6 hours, you can plug in, recharge the batteries, and try again. And you can kind of make notes of what you did and things like that. If you run out of water, you can refill your fresh tank and go again. If you overflow your gray tank too quickly, it's not common to overflow the black. It's usually draining the fresh and overflowing gray that's the most common. But this is going to give us a good feel at a campground, again, where we have a safety net. It's also going to deliver some of the real things that we're talking about. I got guys that look at me and go, I got this big trip in July. We're going to go down to the Carolinas. We're going to do some dry camping. Hope you're bringing a generator, because it could be hot. You can open some windows. I get that. I understand it. But at the end of the day, you are sitting in an RV with no AC on. And we do that for a living here. So it's not exactly the most comfortable weather conditions. That being said, also, if you're boondocking, the other thing to get into is safety. Guys, making sure people know where you're at. This goes back to, backpacking and Boy Scouts, and if you were never really into backpacking, making sure there's multiple people that know where you're at, making sure that you have check-in periods, like, hey, I'm going to call once a day and let you know I'm okay. Or I'm going to call, once in the morning and once before I go to bed, and that way there's only a 12-hour window span, which is usually what I like to do. About 9 a.m., 9 p.m., that seems to work pretty good. Making sure that you have knowledge of first aid and stuff beyond the basic boo-boo stuff. That way, if something happens, you not only have the knowledge, but the tools there, having the medical equipment with you to handle normal things. Does that mean that you need a full triage kit? No, probably not. But do your research, make sure you have something, because again, if you are out in a very remote area, you have an accident, you need to be able to take care of that. The other thing that comes up all the time with dry camping, and we're going to get into the basics of it, and we're going to have a separate video on this, is generator versus solar panels. Hey, I'm bringing solar panels with me. Hey, I'm bringing generator with you. Here's my opinion with solar panels. They are 12-volt charging only, and you got to babysit them a little bit because you got to angle them towards the sun, make sure we're trying to pick up as much as possible. And we are talking about the suitcase ones. The ones roof mounted are a little bit better, but keep in mind, if we park underneath that nice shady tree, we no longer get that solar advantage because now the solar panels are blocked by the nice tree cover. Generator I'm a bigger fan of, especially for people first starting out with it, because it allows me to instantly start recharging my batteries. It allows me to run my AC, which I am a huge fan of. So I'm more of a fan of that, and this is a better time for dry camping because we can be running our furnace. We're shooting this in November now. But October, November is a great time for dry camping because the AC doesn't typically need to be ran. As far as generator recommendations, there's not too much of a video that we need to do on that. Here's my simple answer. Go buy Honda. If you have a 30 amp unit, you can buy 2 Honda inverter generators. I believe they're the 2200s. They sell a parallel kit that ties them together, gives me a 30 amp RV plug, allows me to plug that in and use that camper as if it's plugged into a normal 30 amp service. Why do I recommend Honda generators and not brand X, Y, and Z? And this one's sold at a discount tool store and it works just as good as the Honda and it's a quarter of the price. Okay, first off, it's probably not just as good as the Honda. And I know guys that run them, you know, I hear guys, oh, I've only had a problem with it, you know, once every 18 months. It got me 2 years and you know, cool, great. What I recommend is Honda because the only complaint anybody has ever had with the Honda is the price. And if the only complaint is the price, I'm going to say that it's a pretty darn good generator. Parts availability, serviceability, everything is excellent. So especially if you're doing a longer trip, being able to get oil changes and stuff done on it pretty easily. There are a ton of Honda dealerships throughout the country. Tank empty. Make sure you know what you're doing as far as your tank capacities. That's going to be the next thing you really need to focus on when you do that first camping trip at a campground, where you're trying to get the hang of everything. Gray water is going to build up and you're going to have to find a way to get rid of that safely. Black water is also going to fill up and we're going to run into the issue of having to find a place to dump that on our way home. So when you make those trips, make sure you have plans to get the sewage dumped. You don't want to be hauling down the road for long distances. If you have a half full bottle of water or a half full tank, anytime you're moving, it's sloshing all over the place. So that's something to keep in mind there. So aside from that, I mean, that's the basics we wanted to get into at this point. We're going to start talking about batteries in another video, some of the gear that you're going to want to bring with, and ways to try to manage your water as best as possible. Keep in mind, we got guys that go, well, I'm just going to bring a bunch of these 7-gallon containers, I'm going to throw them in the back of my truck, or these jerry cans, and I'm going to throw them in the back of my truck, and I'm going to have, 27, extra 5-gallon cans of water. That's a lot of weight, guys. So make sure the payload of your vehicle can handle stuff like that. But comment down below, tell me what questions you have about dry camping in your RV, and we're going to try to address those along with the videos that we've already got kind of penciled out for what we're going to be shooting for, so we can try to get everybody's questions answered. So that's the basics of it. That's the initial one. Again, the big thing I'm going to hit on is make sure you go to a campground for your first dry camping experience. Just don't plug in, don't hook up to the water, just fill your freshwater tank, things like that. That way you, again, have that safety net. Trust me, it'll make the camping trip so much more pleasurable. So, guys, that's what we got for today real quick. If you have any questions, comment down below. Me or Mark will get back to you on our YouTube comments. Have a great day. Thanks from Keystone RV Center.